are listed companies. So I would simply go to the JSE and say, this is the sector that I'm dealing with. So I put in there education sector, JSE listed companies, and then I get a list. When I get that list, I then be able to say, okay, I've narrowed down my research universe to these 3 or 4 listed companies where I'm going to get perhaps the most useful comparisons or the most useful examples of what companies in that industry are thinking about and what companies in that industry are reporting about. Once that has happened, you then have to deal with the question of, if you were doing the FMCG sector, you might end up with 8 or 9 listed companies that say, oh, we all do it. And then the question is, you're not going to read 9 or 10 sets of financial statements or annual reports. So then you go back to your own case study and then you say, so what do these companies do? What does this company do in the actual case study? And then what that means is that you are then able to go and say, well, of the 10 companies that are listed, our business model most likely replicates XYZ. So therefore, this is the case that I'm going to look at. So in last year's APC, because it was in the education sector, there are essentially 2 listed companies that everybody would have stumbled upon. It would have, well, 3 actually. It would have been Curo, it would have been Advitech, and it would have been Stadio. Okay. And how you then decide which one you should actually then read first to get an insight of what that industry is all about. You then have to go and say, well, Stadio deals exclusively in higher education. Curo deals exclusively in basic education. Advitech is a blend of both because they go from grade R all the way up to PhD level. So if your case company that said we are in the space of basic education, higher education, and post-tertiary education, then the answer is Advitech. So you go to Advitech and then you say, in the annual report, what are the directors of Advitech saying are the topical issues? What are the things that keep them awake? How have they sort of, framed their business model? Then you go specifically to what the auditors of the company say, because they'll tell you about the key audit matters. So the key audit matters are the things that keep the auditors awake. It's clearly things that are topical. It's clearly things that are of concern to everybody that's involved in the company. So once you read that type of financial set of annual reports, you are able to then say, when I come back and look at this within this industry. So and then I go and research, I'm like, oh, actually, Curo said that in the past year, bad debts have gone up because of COVID-19, and because they know that a student is going to remain with them for 12 years. In other words, it's annuity income. That's why they haven't locked out the children, because they'll know that the parents may struggle this year, but if the parents are back next year, they're back until the child gets to matric. So that is why the bad debts are up this year. It's not because the company is incompetent. So Curo would have explained to you how they've managed it, what they've done to their bursary policy, what they've done to their, fee remissions policy. There was another term that they use in that case study. So that's essentially how I would do the research.
Thank you, Kaya. We'll now hand over to, Caroline, do you wanna add as well?
No, I wanted to say I fully agree. The one thing though I wanted to add on what Kaya has said is, remember, Kaya is giving you acquiring the knowledge and understanding it. What you need to do is apply it to the scenario that you're given. So it's very important. You're going to have a lot of research to be doing, but to be able to understand what the triggers are and to go directly to the things that you need to be applying to, it's quite important. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Caroline. We'll now hand over to Dira. Dira is from the AGSA, and he has worked closely with candidates